of this. So thank you so much for those of you that are just joining. We had over 600 people sign up for this thing. A lot of people sign up for these and then they watch the recordings later. But you, 216 people that are here, are going to be able to get your questions answered one on one, and you're going to have a great time. We're going to have an hour here. All about the 990, unlocking the mysteries and its power. First thing we want to do is thank TechSoup, of course, who is putting on this webinar to help all of you nonprofits out there with that document that you have to file the 990. Along with me today is Paige Hudson Garcia. Say hello, Paige. For those of you that do not know, oh, you can say hello, Paige.
Hi.
There we go. That was easy. All right. For those of you that don't know, Paige is the one who does all of our migrations for people that are moving from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. She also does people that are moving from an online subscription for QuickBooks that's not with TechSoup and costs a lot of money to one that is with TechSoup and is only $170 for an entire year. So anyway, enough of that. And then also she is going to be helping with the new initiative that we have, and it's going to be a 990 service, but we're going to talk about that later on. Right now, let's get into our session here. First of all, and you can put this in the chat, who has seen me teach before? Give me a yes or a no. Have you seen me teach before? Yes or no? Who has not seen me teach before? So most people have, but there are people that haven't. For those of you that don't know me, I am a CPA. I specialize in nonprofit organizations. We have a firm in Atlanta, Georgia. We do audits. We do about 150 990s a year. We also do a ton of monthly bookkeeping work. But I also own a company called QuickBooks Made Easy for Nonprofits. And all we do at QuickBooks Made Easy for Nonprofits is teach you, if you're a nonprofit, how to use QuickBooks to track the things that you want to track. Elizabeth says she's worked with Paige, and she was awesome. So that's cool. Hey, Tara, welcome to a wild and woolly webinar. This isn't your normal webinar, I promise you. All right, so that's me. If you've never been in a Zoom meeting before and it's too small, you want to see it bigger, if you just kind of roll your mouse around until you see a kind of a red thing here. Let me see if I can. There we go. This view button right here. And if you click it and push full screen, then bloop, then you will be able to see the full screen. Oh, wow. Cindy's coming for our next week. We're doing a 3-day webinar series and teaching people how to use QuickBooks Online next week. But let's talk about, we got some discounts for you, which we'll talk about later. But I want to get right into it because we only have an hour. Okay. So here's what we're going to cover today. By the way, it's all about 990s. I've never taught this before. This is a brand new course. I'm very excited about it. And the goal is to teach you and unlock the mysteries of the 990s, okay? So first of all, who must file a 990 or one of the other nonprofit tax forms? Which form to file? How many forms are there you can choose from, by the way, if you want to file a 990? Does anyone know how many different types there are of the 990? There's actually 3. There's 3 different types. Yeah, there's 3. All right. So we'll talk about the 3 types and which form to file. Let's see. We're going to get into how to read this thing. The 990 is probably the most confusing tax return that you can file with the Internal Revenue Service. Additionally, very few accountants know how to do it. So we're going to talk about, just kind of give you an overview of the 990. Specifically, we're going to show you what the IRS is looking for, why it is they even want people to fill out this information return, because nonprofits typically don't have to pay income tax. So it's really an information return that you're filing. And we're going to talk about what the IRS is looking for. We're also going to talk about what funders look for. For many of you, when you apply for funding, you do have to give a copy of your 990 to your funder. Also, I don't know if you know this, every single person in the entire world has access to your 990 and can look at it. Okay? Did you guys know that? Anyone know where you can go to see your 990? Put it in the chat. Anybody know where you can go to see? You can go to GuideStar. You can also go to irs.gov and you can find it. That's true. Okay? I think they might have it in Charity Navigator too as well. Is that right, guys? ProPublica has it. Yeah. So anyway, All right. So after we get into the 990, and we're going to show you, first of all, what an IRS agent's going to look at and also what funders look for. No, Chris says, what about state forms? We are going to offer a service, which we'll mention at the end. TechSoup's going to start offering service where we'll file the state forms for you, but we're talking about the 990 right now. Okay. No, GuideStar is not very up to date than the IRS. They're about a year behind in terms of uploading forms. All right. After we get you comfortable with reading the 990 and what funders are looked for, we're going to look at penalties for not filing timely. Also, how to get out of a penalty. Has anyone ever had a penalty for not filing? Anyone have a penalty for not filing or filing late? Yeah, so we're going to show you how to get out of that. And then, if God forbid your tax exempt status was revoked, we're going to show you how to get it back, stated right now, reinstated. All right, and then we'll go where to go to get more info. So, if without any further ado, I'm going to take a sip of water. Are you guys ready to learn about the 990? It's very exciting. Okay. All right, Tina, here we go. All right. You can tell my pills have kicked in. All right. Oh, that's a nice smiley face, Audrey. All right. Okay, so here we go. First thing, which nonprofit organizations must file something with the IRS? Okay. Who needs to file something? Well, let me just baby you through this. Basically, years ago, the government exempted certain entities from paying income tax, basically nonprofits. Okay. And under Section IRC, under IRC Code 501A, anybody who is under that 501A is exempt from paying income taxes. What does IRC stand for, by the way? Put it in the chat. Anyone know what IRC stands for? You can probably figure it out. Internal Revenue Code. Thank you, Chris. Oh, good to see you. So, all right. And so exempt under IRC code 501A. So that's like this big overarching code section. Everybody under this code is exempt from filing taxes. And the people that are exempt from filing taxes, they want you to file a tax return, an information return, a 990 of some sort. Now, there are some organizations that are under 501A so that they're tax exempt, but they also are excluded from having to file the information return. Okay? So if you are under IRC code 501A, you're tax exempt, and you're not an excluded entity, then you got to file with the Internal Revenue Service. What's an example of an excluded entity? Somebody that is tax exempt, but they don't have to file a 990. What's the most common one? A church. Okay. But we'll get into that a little bit more in a second. Let's rock. Okay. So just to get a little more detailed here, there's this giant Internal Revenue Code, Section 501A, that says everybody in here is tax exempt. And actually, in the subsections of the code, in the subsections under 501A, it lists the organizations that are tax exempt in each of the subsection. One of the subsections is 501c3. I assume you've heard of that. So that's what almost all of us are. We're nonprofits, and we have been exempted under 501A because we are a 501c3 charity. And that means A, we don't have to pay income tax, and B, it also means we have to file a 990, but unless we're excluded, okay? But there are others, 501c4, which is a social welfare organization, 501c6, which is a business league or a chamber of commerce. One of my clients is the Nuclear Medicine Technology Certification Board. It's more of a business league, okay? Nuclear medicine technologists. So they are 501c6, okay? 501c7 is a social and recreational club. What would that be? Somebody give me an example of a 501c7, a social club. What, like an Elks Lodge or something? page, a little league. Okay. So, anyway, now there are a bunch of others. Okay. There's a couple of, a Rotary Club would be. I've seen somebody, Kane's worked with a 501c 19 and 20. I don't even know what that is. But anyway, there are others. But the main one that most people are, you have to be one in order to join TechSoup, is a 501c3 charity. Okay. Or a library. Okay. So that's really what we're going to focus on here. All right. So let's see what else. Now, if you don't know which one you are, then you can actually find out by looking at your original. Oh, for those of you that are just starting, hi, I'm Greg. We're learning about the 990s. Listen up. Okay. If you don't know what subsection exempts you from tax, you can look at your original tax exempt determination letter. Now, I had a client the other day that I needed to get a copy of this letter, and they didn't have it in their records because they were got their original tax determination letter in 1960. And so they didn't have it anymore. So if you don't have it from your records, you can actually look it up on the IRS website. And there's a little link here for it, and it's in your deck. Yes, you'll get the recordings. Yes, you'll get the deck. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into that subsection here, that part of the IRS website. There's a little web address, and you can search the database at IRS, and you can see your old 990s as well as your determination letter. So is there anybody that wants to tell me the name of their organization? Just somebody type it in here because we got to move. And then I will, yeah, thank you, Chris. And then I will look up your your determination. Interfaith Council of Amador. Let's see. Texas Diaper Bank. I like that. Let's see if that's in here. Click organization name. I'm going to do Texas Diaper Bank. And let's search and see if Texas Diaper Bank is in here. Gosh, I wonder what you guys do at the Texas Diaper Bank. Takes a minute. It's because it's the IRS. All right, there it is, Texas Diaper Bank. Okay. Now I don't see the determination letter. It doesn't look like they have this. So sometimes you can't find it. So we'll just find somebody else here. Philippine Nurses Association of San Diego. Let's see about that one. And if this one doesn't have the determination letter, then I'm just going to show you an example of one. But the newer ones have it. Sometimes the really old organizations don't have it. Oh, I can't even find Philippine Nurses Association in here. That's interesting. Let's see. We'll try one more time. Doesn't work very well. Usually this works, but of course the one that I picked doesn't. Oh, here we go. Well, let's just pick one of these one here. This one's in Sacramento. This one's California, capital city. There's a determination letter right there. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. And then I'll click it. And it opens it up. And there's their determination letter, which they got in 2022. So it's going to tell us somewhere in here what subsection they're under. They are under subsection 501c3, which is what most people are. Okay. There is also a place where it tells you that you are a public charity. And that is important too. Let me see where that is on this letter. The letters have changed over the years. Let's see. Organizations are further classified public. We've determined that you are a public charity. Okay. So anyway. All right. So that's the deal. If you don't show a letter on the link, how do you get it? I don't have a clue. Paige, do you have any ideas? If it's not you probably have to contact the IRS to get a copy of the letter.
You
Paige?
do. They don't have. Yes, you do. They haven't always posted them.
Okay.
So you may just have to contact them direct.
Here's another one. This is one for 2016 that I looked up. And again, I don't do anything with this organization. It's all public information. So anyway, enough of that. All right. So if you are exempt from tax, and now we know most of you are going to be a 501c3, you have to file a tax return unless you're excluded. So who's excluded? Well, certain religious organizations. We already covered this. Churches, and it says church, but they mean any religious organization, mosque, synagogue, etc. But not only the church itself, but other organizations that are connected or associated with the church, like an interchurch org, an auxiliary of the church, um, an affiliated organization that maintains the retirement funds for a church, a religious order, a school, K through 12, an affiliated mission society, all of these. There are also certain governmental organizations and certain political organizations that are also excluded from filing the traditional 990 or the other two possibilities. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So, Kane was answering for somebody else who was like, I don't see my return in there, and or I don't see my name in there, and it's because after you file your first return, then things will start showing up in the database. Okay. So these organizations, mainly churches, don't have to file. Anybody here that does not have to file because they're a religious organization, put it in the chat. I'm just kind of curious. We've got, what are we up to? Like 280 people now, something like that. Okay. All right. So a private school should have to file something. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. Oh, religious school. Got it. Okay. They don't have to file. So then what to file? So there's three possible IRS forms. What are they? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Um, one is called the 990N, and it's also referred to as the e-postcard. Looks like y'all got it though. The three are 990N, 990EZ, and a traditional 990. Okay. So the 990N is if your gross receipts for the year that your average gross receipts, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Your average gross receipts are less than $50,000. Then you can file a 990N, which is also called also called an e-postcard, and you can file that online. If your gross receipts are between $50,001 up to $200,000 or 199,999, and your total assets are less than 500,000, then you can file what's called a 990EZ. Okay. Once your gross receipts get over 200 or your total assets get over 500, then you got to file the 990 in full. So somebody said, well, wait, what about the 990 PF? So if you are considered a private foundation and not a public charity, then you file something called a 990 PF. That's not what this webinar is about. This webinar is about the people that are 501c3s, TechSoup people, okay? And they file one of these three, all right? So, yes, you get a copy of the recording, Tracy, and yes, you get a copy of the actual deck, all right? All right, now, let me just tell you, when they say gross receipts, they mean the average receipts for the last 3 years. So if you've been filing a 990N and in the third year you go just over 50,000, well, if your average over the 3 years is under 50, you can still file a 990N. It's only when the average goes up. Now, if it's your very first year, then obviously it would just be the average for that 1 year, just the 1 year. If it's 2 years, it would be the average for the 2 years. Once you get past 3 years, it's the average for the latest 3 years. Okay. So let's see. The 990N is very simple. You just do a few questions online. It's still a thing. You might want to get somebody else to do it every year so you don't have to worry about it. And more importantly, you don't forget. Okay. If you're a volunteer organization, a lot of times the organization, rotates through people that are in charge and they just don't even know about it. And all of a sudden your tax exempt status is gone because you haven't filed in 3 years. Okay. When they say gross receipts, they mean the gross receipts that'll be on the tax returns. That does include in-kind goods. It does not include in-kind services. Okay. All right. Some people will file a 990 even though they don't have to, because they're just trying to be transparent. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Now, if you are under 50, you can get away with the 990N. Once you're over 50 or your total assets over 5, then you got to either file the 990 EZ or the 990. Okay. So I want you guys, don't ask questions for a second. I want you to stop and I want you to look at me because this is really important. Okay. All right. So, all right. All right. I want you to know something because there's people that are like, well, I can file a 990 EZ. So that's going to be easy because it says EZ. No, it's not. Okay. The 990 EZ takes basically the same amount of preparation work in terms of getting your books ready than the 990 does. It just summarizes the information a little bit more. And there are back schedules that you have to include: Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, Schedule D, Schedule O. It goes on and on and on. And those schedules have to be included. I don't care whether you do a 990 EZ or a 990. Okay. So, my point is, if I'm giving you advice, you're calling me up, I would say file the 990N if you can when you're just getting started. Unless you're going for grant monies, then go ahead and file the 990 because it'll be better information to give to your funders. It'll make you look better. See, even if you can file a 990 in, they'll always let you file a 990. But once you get over that $50,000 threshold in average gross receipts, file the 990. Skip over doing the 990 EZ. Why? As I said, it's just about as much preparation work, okay? The back schedules are all still included with the EZ as they are with the regular 990. And if you give a 990 to a funder, it's going to give them a lot more information. It's going to look a lot better, and it's going to give you the ability to advertise, because a lot of you, particularly if you're not getting audits, this is your chance to kind of let funders know what's going on with this theoretically objective document that has been sent to a third party, the IRS, the 990. Okay, so you want to make that look as good as possible. Okay. Walter says, we filed a 990N for 2 years each with receipts under 50, now received in grant for 209 in 2024. Can he file the EZ? Well, just do the math, Walter. 50/50 plus whatever the gross receipts are for 24, add it together, divided by 3. If it's over 50, then you'll need to file an EZ, but I would say go ahead and file the 990. Okay. All right. Yeah, your average will be under 200,000, Walter. So, all right. If you want to file the 990N e-postcard, what you do is you go online to file it, okay? And to go online, and I'll have a link at the end to give it to you, but to file it electronically, you go to the IRS website. Hold on. Here it is. And you can just scroll down. I just put 990N in the search bar, and then right here, submit 990N postcard. You'll do this once a year. Okay. I'll talk about when later. The very first time you do this, if you want to do the 990N yourself, I don't think you should, but you will need to sign into an account, which means you'll need to create one. I'm going to tell you right now, to create an account with the IRS is a nightmare. Okay. It's a pain in the butt. Just be ready. Okay. It's going to suck. It's hard. Just telling you. Has anyone ever tried to do this and realized what a pain in the butt it is? Put it in the chat. They want you to send pictures of yourself. It's obnoxious. All right. Anyway. Okay. So, but once you're in, then to file the 990N, you're just answering some questions. You're putting in the organization's legal name, any DBA names used, what the mailing address of the organization is, the employer ID number, the website, the name and address of the officer, the year you're filing for, and a little thing where you're affirming that your gross receipts on average are less than 50,000. Okay? That's it. It's just these questions, these exact bullet points. It's not a big deal once you get on there. Okay? So, oh, you also have to say whether your organization is still active. All right. So you go to the post office, the e-postcard filing system to do it, which I just showed you is right here. Okay. And I've got a link for it. There's the link. But anyway, again, you'll get the deck. All right. So let's see. All right. So reading the 990. Okay. So this is where I want you guys to kind of understand what the 990 is telling you, the IRS, and funders. So I want you to get comfortable with the IRS, with the 990. Okay. And we'll use the traditional 990 because it's basically the same as the 990 easy. Okay. Thank you, Chris. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a 990 that I've just kind of pulled up. Here's an example of one. And I just found one. Wasn't a big deal. Okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger. You can see it. Okay. This one was for 23. It's the same form in 24. Okay. So the 990 is basically 12 pages. Okay. And what the 990 is doing is it's basically giving you basic information. This is kind of like a P&L on page 1. Page 2 is where your program descriptions are. Page 3 is a checklist. There's all these back schedules that you have to attach. And when you answer questions, like for instance, this one, did the organization engage in lobbying activities? If the answer is yes, then there's an additional schedule. So this part of the 990 determines which additional schedules will have to be attached. And it's the same with the 990 EZ. Here's some more checklist of required schedules. This is some other questions. They're mostly yes, no questions. Let's see. Here's some information on governing body and management. We're going to go over this a little bit more detail, but I just kind of wanted to give you a general idea. Here's some policies. Here's a list of your board members, basically, and the executive director. And then here's your expenses. And here's your balance sheet. I missed the revenue. Okay. This is your revenue. These are your expenses broken out. And this is your balance sheet. And then there's a few more things. And then you're done. So that's the 990, and it's 12 pages. Then there's additional schedules. All right. Let me go back here. There's additional schedules. The Schedule A and the Schedule O are pretty much always required. Okay. What's the Schedule A do? The Schedule A basically does a public support test. Now take a look at me. Hey. All right. The IRS doesn't have the energy or the resources, especially now, to go and find out if you're really doing what you're supposed to be doing and are a good nonprofit. So they're relying on the general public to decide that. And they're assuming if you're getting more than a third of your donations from the general public, okay, then there's a lot of eyes on you and you're probably doing okay. Whereas if you're just getting all your money from one or two big donors, or you're just selling to one or two big customers, then there's not a lot of eyes on you. And so they do this public support test, and that's what Schedule A does. And it's probably the most difficult schedule, and you have to include it. Okay. So that's almost always included. And then the Schedule O is also always included, and that gives you supporting verbiage. There's a lot of questions that we went through in the 990, like, do you have a whistleblower policy? And if you do, then they want you to go back in the Schedule O and write out what it is, that kind of a thing. It's just where you get more verbiage. It's funny, nobody looks at the Schedule O, but it's basically blank sheets of paper where you fill in a bunch of other data. Okay. Very important. Okay. Now, in addition to the 990, Schedule A, and Schedule O, there are additional schedules that you usually have to do. One of them is a Schedule B. That's for large donors. It lists all your large donors. The Schedule D, this is extra information about things on your balance sheet. Like if you have fixed assets, which most of us do, you'll need to fill out a back schedule. If you have investments, you have to fill out this back schedule. If you have an endowment, you do. This is if you have any donor advised funds. Schedule G is for special fundraising events, and I put that as something that's usually included because most people usually have some sort of special fundraising event. Other common schedules are the C for lobbying activities, the J for people that make more than 150K, the L for transactions with people that are part of your organization, and the M for in-kind contributions. Okay. Um, Donna wanted to know if we have a suggestion for the chart of accounts to make 990 easier. That's what I'm going to teach next week at the webinar. And let me see what else. Lobbying, Chris Robles. Is that federal, state, or local? Yes. Okay. Yes. And it's not lobbying. Is that lobbying by, oh, we speak at council and school board meetings about, I guess, what's going on. Is that lobbying? Not, it's interesting. If you're trying to get them to affect change, then it's lobbying. When in doubt, assume it's lobbying. Okay. Um, let's see. I'll tell you, Donna, about the course at the end here. All right. Look at how big this is. 990 Schedule A and Schedule O is 14 to 21 pages. If you have these additional schedules, and most people have at least two, you're talking about 13 to 16 additional pages after the 21 pages above, and then the other common pages could add as much as 10 pages. There's also worksheets that you have to include. And so the average 990 is between 25 and 45 pages or more with worksheets, unless you don't know what you're doing. Okay. Mary wants to know who's considered a large donor. Anybody over $5,000, okay, is considered a large donor. All right. Okay. So I already looked at this. We already looked at this. Let's see. Somebody wanted to know if the 990 should be on the website. The answer is yes. And I'm going to stop answering questions for a second. So if you guys could just pause your chat, because I want you, we're going to go back into the 990 because I want you to learn more about the 990 before you start asking us how much it would be for me to do it. Okay. So who is looking at your 990? There are two groups of people, the IRS and funders. Okay. So I want to put your head in the shoes of both of these bodies so you can understand what specifically they're looking for. First, we'll do the IRS. With the IRS, they're looking for three areas. They want to make sure that you're complying with your tax exempt status. When you first became a nonprofit, you filled out this form called a 1023 or a 1024. And that form told the IRS what your mission was, what your programs were going to be, a bunch of other stuff. They want to make sure that you're actually still doing that. Okay. So that's one thing that they get by you filling out the information return. They also want to monitor the financial activity, make sure you're not doing anything funky. And then finally, they want the form available to the public. So they got to make you fill it out. So those are the three reasons why the IRS is wanting you to fill out the 990. Okay. Or EZ. Okay. So in complying with the tax exempt purpose, they actually have places on the 990 that does that. First of all, right on the first page of the return, and let me go to the return again. I'll go back to the first page. There's a place where your mission is listed. There's also a place on the next page where you list what your program accomplishments are. This is something, and this is where I'm going to tell you right now. So listen carefully, because I want to give you tips. Do not rely on your whoever it is that does the return to fill this in. This is your example to shine. Okay. It's where you want to write out your mission real specifically, what you did, how many people you served, if there were volunteers, how many were there. This is where your advertisement happens. Okay. So make sure that you are filling those out or telling the person who's putting in the program descriptions give them detailed information. Okay. There's a bunch of other stuff here. Um, uh, Monitoring financial activity. They want to make sure that there's not anybody benefiting personally that shouldn't be, or maybe they're benefiting by getting too much money. And there's actually a line on page 3, line 25A. Let's go to page 3, line 25A. Here's page 3. What is it? Page 3, line 25A. I guess it's over. I guess I did that wrong. Uh, Page 6, page 3, line 25A. Oh, they must have changed the page numbers. Is probably what they did. Yeah, they did. Did the organization engage in an excess benefit transaction from a disqualified person? This is a person who's like a board member, somebody that's intimately involved in the organization. If so, you have to tell about it in Schedule L. Okay. So that's just an example of how they're making sure they're monitoring the financial activity. There's some other stuff too. Then public disclosure. The IRS is going to post this on their website, irs.gov. We already saw that. They're also going to post it on GuideStar. Okay. So, and GuideStar we'll go to in a minute. I'll show it to you. But the other thing that I really wanted to do, that's why the IRS needs it, but mainly what matters to me, because I'm going to be honest with you folks. Listen to me. Okay. This is my personal opinion. The IRS doesn't have time to look at your 990. Okay. They didn't before. They really don't now. Okay. The Trump administration has been cutting staff like crazy. So I'm not really worried about the IRS looking at my 990 or auditing it. What I am worried about is I'm worried about funders. Okay. I'm worried about funders because they are going to get your 992. So what are funders looking at? Okay, so this is again where I'm giving you some tips. So listen carefully. The first thing that funders look for is, and this is because of just years of experience I've had serving on boards and talking to funders, they look at the number of board members you have. That's on the front page of the return, right here. The number of board members. You need to have at least 5, in my opinion. These nonprofits where you have 3 more board members, the founder, her husband, and a friend is not good enough. We need people that are disinterested third parties or objective third parties. Okay. The other thing is volunteers. This organization has 410 volunteers. Put your volunteers here. I can't believe how many people just ignore this, and whoever's filing your return or filling it out just ignores it. You can estimate, make this as high as possible. Everybody has volunteers. Even the board is volunteers, okay? Unless they're being paid, okay? So they care about the board members and they care about the volunteers. See, I'm telling you things to look for on your 990. Is this helpful to you? Y'all say something. Are you enjoying this? Is this good? Is this good? Okay, let's keep going. All right, because I've never taught this before, so this is kind of like my idea. Funders are going to look at revenues less expenses. This is on page 1 of the 990, right down here at the bottom. This organization, and it gives them their net income for 2 years, the prior year and the current year. Yes, you want to be making money, not too much money, but if you're losing a whole lot of money, that's where you're probably going to have to explain to them why it is you lost money in this year, and why that's not going to happen in the future. Because nobody wants to give money to an organization that's about to go out of business. Okay. Yes, you'll get the recording still. The next thing is they're going to look at this net asset number and they're going to make sure that this number is positive, because what this tells them the assets that they have, 3.3 million, minus the liabilities that they owe, 27,000. So their assets net of liabilities, which means they're in the black. Okay, they're doing well. They're not going to be going out of business anytime soon. Okay. How much net income is too much net income? Gwen says that's really hard to say. Um, Depends upon the organization. I don't have a flat number for you. Okay. All right. Positive net assets. I just did that one. Program descriptions. We already described it. I'm going to say it again because it's so important. Here's where you list your program service accomplishments, your program service accomplishments. And what I want to tell you, listen, okay? What you're supposed to do, or what they give you room to do, is you put your mission there, right here. This is the mission. And then you put your description of each program down here. 4A would be for your first program. 4B would be for your second program. 4C would be for your third program. If you have more than that, you got to attach other sheets. But the point is, there's only so much room in this field. So if you give a really giant program description to somebody to do your 990, it won't be able to fit on here, and it'll have to go on the Schedule O, and all this will say is see attached. So some people don't like that. So if you want, because who looks at that Schedule O? It's the back schedule. So this is on page 2 of the 990. So if you want, make the description small enough so that they will fit on this page too. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Dawn, that question is best for next week. Okay. Let's see. They want to make sure you have good policies. This is another example. Pay very close attention here. If you go to page 6, you're going to see between page, let's see, on page 6, where is page 6? Here it is. And I think it starts here at 11 and it goes to 15. These questions look at whether or not you have good policies. Has the organization provided a complete copy of the 990 to its members? Yes. Okay. Describe the process to review the 990 on Schedule O. Do they have a conflict of interest policy? Okay. Do they have let's see, a whistleblower policy? Do they have a document retention policy? Okay. You want to answer yes to all of these. So if you don't have these policies, you can look on Google or Chat GPT, create the policy, have the board vote on it, then you can say yes, you'll look better for functionings. Okay. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'll do more questions later. Okay. They want to know who is making money from the organization. This is another really important thing that's right here. They're going to list out basically all of your board members, your executive director, who's not here, and they should be, and anybody who makes more than $100,000 is going to be on this page. And they're going to list out how much money they're making over here. Okay. So it's an advertisement. Let me tell you something. Years ago when the Clinton Foundation was under attack, when Hillary was running, and the Clinton Foundation are like, oh, Chelsea Clinton is making all this money from the Clinton Foundation because, she's an employee. She's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can look at their tax return and see Chelsea Clinton made zero. Okay. Now, unless they're not being honest on the 990, but I'm just telling you that that's what that information is for. Okay. Lily wants to know, can we add donors, sponsors, and partners as part of the volunteer? No, it's people that have worked for you. A donor isn't a volunteer. Okay. Oh, thank you. Whoever said you love this part about what the funders are looking at. That's great. Diversified revenue. So think about it. If you're giving money to an organization, so put yourself in the shoes of a funder, you'd want to know that the funder gets money from different places. Okay. Maybe they earn some themselves by selling things. They get some from the government. They get some from donors, stuff like that. So that's listed. They can see that when they look at where your revenue is coming from. This is where the revenue is. So this organization is getting this much from federated campaigns, this much from grants. Here's non-cash. Here's program service revenue. So they like seeing stuff diversified. You may not be able to do it. I'm just telling you that's what funders are looking for. Their expenses. When it comes to the expenses, funders want to know that most of your expenses are spent on programmatic stuff. A good rule of thumb is 75% of your expenses are program related. So these functional expenses here, these are the expenses on the P&L, and there's a column for program, a column for management, and a column for fundraising. And then the rows are going to be your natural categories like salaries and wages and payroll taxes and fees and rent and all that kind of stuff. A funder is going to look at the bottom here and they're going to look at total expenses 1.05 million. The program portion is 968. They're going to take a calculator and they're going to take 968 and they're going to divide it by 1051 and they're going to look at the percentage and it's 92%. So they're going to be like, this organization is great. Okay. So that's the expenses. They're going to make sure that you don't have too much debt. They're going to see that on the balance sheet. Almost done with this. This organization has $27,000 of debt. Okay. So they don't have very much debt. Let's see. Does it look suspicious if your fundraising and G&A expenses less than 15%? Not necessarily. Depends upon the organization. There's a lot of organizations that grant money to other organizations, so most of their money is going right back out the door to other nonprofits. That's a program expense, so I wouldn't worry about that so much. Okay. Let's see. Oh, if you have an outside accountant that does a review or does an audit or does a compilation, people like that. So on page 12, you can look at the funders. Where's page 12? There we go. Look, was the organization's financials reviewed or compiled by an independent accountant? Were they audited by an independent accountant? The answer is yes. They like that. Okay. Let's see what there is. Public support percentage, that's that last thing I was telling you. That's on the Schedule A. They want to make sure that most of your money comes from the public. According to this, the public support percentage is 100%. I don't know that that's true. People don't know what they're doing with this, but anything over a third is good. Okay. Services, Gary, are not considered a donation. All right. So, all right. Let's see. What else is there? I think that's it. I've already looked. All right. Couple more things, and then we're going to do then we're going to have some fun here. Okay. So first, penalties. First of all, y'all tell me, when are the 990s due? Tell me when they're due. When are the 990s due? For the December deadlines, they're due on May 15th, which is next week. Okay. So they're due 4 months and 15 days after the year ends. Okay. So if your December year end, then it's May 15th because you got January, February, March, April. That's 4 months. 15 more days is May 15th. Okay. People are freaking out about this fundraising and admin percentage. Let me just tell you, as long as your program expenses are at least 75% of the total, really 70, I don't care how you break out admin and fundraising. Nobody's going to care. So it's fine. There's not a preferred percentage, Shannon. All right. All right. If your year end is 3/31, you go 4 months and 15 days, due 8/15. If it's 6/30, due 11/15. If it's 9/30, it's due 2/15 of the next year. Okay. Now, you can automatically extend your tax return for 6 more months using a Form 4868. It's an automatic extension. And so if you extend your December 31 return, you can extend it to November 15th, 2/15 of the next year for 3/31, 5/15 of the next year for June 30 year ends, and for 9/30 it's 8/15. So you've got a total of 10 months and 15 days to do the return. Okay. All right. Let's see. What are the penalties if you don't file on time? Okay. If you don't file on time, you file late. If your gross receipts are 1.274 million or less, so that's most of you, the penalty is $25 a day up to a max of $12,500 or 5% of gross receipts. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Of course, if you extended, then you wouldn't be late until 6 months later, Lily. Okay. You have to extend each year. It's not moving forward. You have to extend each year. If you're above 1.274 million in gross receipts, the fee's $125 a day. The max is $63,500. So the penalty is huge. All right. However, also the penalty can be assessed if you didn't do the return right, if you forgot the extra schedules. Okay. All right. You can write a letter to get the penalties waived. Everybody stop. This is probably one of the most valuable things I'm going to teach you. If you ever get a penalty, you can write a letter to get it waived. Here's what you need to say on your letter. You need to identify what the penalty is. I'm writing about the $2,500 penalty for filing late. You need to formally ask for abatement. I'd like to abate the penalty. You need to tell them why you didn't file on time. I didn't file on time because the person who usually files left and I'm new. Okay. You also, when you're doing this, and I hesitated to put this on the slide, but I decided to include it, explain the cause of the error, assign blame. Okay. Try and assign the blame to somebody other than yourself. All right. Steps taken. This is really important. Put in the letter what steps you've taken to ensure that this mistake won't happen again and you'll file on time in the future. And this is the best. Put in a sad sack statement. Paying this will cause an undue hardship on your nonprofit, so it won't be able to do its mission. And then say please and thank you and end the letter. Okay? Here is a sample letter. Oh, by the way, the very first time you do this letter, you will get approved. The penalty will be wiped out the first time because there is a get out of jail free card that every nonprofit gets. If you've not asked for penalty abatement before, you'll get it the very first time. Okay? Here is a sample letter for you to look at. Look at how I blamed it on somebody else. Look, I'm the new treasurer on the board. This was my first time. The outgoing treasurer left due to family issues, so it's not really their fault either. Did not inform me of the required deadline. The accounting firm that normally prepares the 990 had not heard from us and assumed we found another account. You see, I'm trying to kind of blame it on other people to a certain extent. We have taken steps to ensure the error will not occur again. Those steps include I will reach out to the accountant immediately following the year, that kind of stuff. Okay. And then here's my little sad sack undue hardship. All right. Okay. So there's just one or two more things I want to do. If you don't file for 3 years, you will lose your tax exempt status, but you can reinstate it. There's a process you have to go through, and I've got slides on it. But basically, basically the process is you have to file a brand new application, Form 1023 or 1024, to request tax exempt status, and you can do it retroactively. It's a pain in the butt. Please make sure to file every year. Okay. You don't ask for the abatement, Timothy, until you've received the penalty. Okay. If you've already received abatement once, yes, you can ask again, but and they'll probably accept it. I'm not really worried about it. Okay. So one thing that I want to tell you, well, there's actually two things I want to do. We just got a few more minutes. We're going to run a couple of minutes over. Hopefully that's okay. What I'm going to do is I am going to go to GuideStar, and I want one of you. We're going to look at your 990 in front of everybody, and I'm going to tell you what it's telling me. Okay. So if you don't want to participate in this, then don't do this. But no, this is what you're going to do. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. The first person who answers with that number, I'm going to look up their organization. Okay, I already see somebody that got it. I already see somebody that got it. It's Willie Sublet. So, Willie Sublet, what's the name of your organization, Willie? Y'all stop putting things in there. Willie, what's the name of your organization? Willie, we don't have much time left. Let's see. Dallas Fort Worth Alliance of Black Accountants. That's a nonprofit. All right. Let's see. I'm going to search. Hopefully it'll find it. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to click on it. Show the forms 990. You haven't had one since 2020 up here. GuideStar is really behind. Here's your 990. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and let you, and I'm just going to tell you what I think. Okay. You did an EZ. So I can't, right off the bat, I can't get enough information that I would normally get. So that's really kind of unfortunate. You made $10,000, which looks okay. I can see that your assets are, your net assets are 151,000. That's your assets minus your liabilities, which means you do have money. Let's see here. Here's your balance sheet. You have very little debt. So at the end of this year, you had 45,000 in cash and a bunch of other assets. I don't really know what they are. Here's their program descriptions. It looks like provided guidance and instructions, provided scholarships. I want more information here. I wish you'd file a full 990 so you'd have more room. It's kind of hard to tell. We have 3 people. This is not enough. Okay. This makes me concerned. All right. Let's do one other one. I'm just going to pick somebody. Somebody that's a 501c3. I'll pick Tina Davidson. Tina, tell me what yours is. Tina Davidson. Tina, let's see. Okay, this is a Montessori school. Let's pick somebody that's a regular nonprofit. I know I'm being jerky about this, but let's do this Habitat for Humanity Abilene. Let's do that. Habitat for Humanity Abilene. So Control C and Control V. And let's see, there it is. Yeah, this is a little bit better. So they're probably going to do a regular 990. Yeah, there's the one for 2024. Okay. We got 14 board members. Awesome. We got 146 volunteers. Awesome. They made 197,000. Might make somebody nervous. Like, wow, they made a lot of money. What the deal is? Their net assets are 1.5 million. They have very little debt to equity. So that's cool. Let's see. Let's go into the policies and see. Here's the policies. Yep. Yes. 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 Did the organization regularly and consistently monitor and enforce the policy? You put no. Let's change this to yes. Okay. Did the process for determining compensation of the CEO include substantiation of the deliberation and decision? Like, was it approved by independent persons comparable to? They want to know that you're doing research to make sure that you're not paying people too much. Make this yes. Add something so that you can make that yes. Okay. Here's their board members. Now, it's not saying anybody got paid here. So the executive director is not listed here, and they should be. So this to me is an issue because the executive director is technically an officer. They're getting their money. Most of it's coming from program work. 200,000 is coming from stuff. They got a little bit of an in-kind, but most of their money's from program. That's okay. This is a Habitat for Humanity, so it's probably coming in from loans and stuff, loan payments. Here's their expenses. Let's see what their program support percentage is. 826 divided by 1004. The percentage is 82%. This is looking good. Okay. So I'm going to stop, and there's a couple of more things I want to say before we finish. One thing I want to tell you, How did you feel about this? Did you feel good about this session? Because I've never done this before. I want to make sure that you're cool. Was it helpful? Yes, you'll get the recording. If you like the way I teach and you have QuickBooks Online, next week we are doing our 3-day webinar series for QuickBooks Online. It's a 3-day webinar series. It's happening the 13th, 14th, and 15th. We're going to teach you every single thing you need to know about QuickBooks Online if you are a nonprofit. So if you've not already taken the 3-day series, you need to take the 3-day series. Here's all of the topics that we're going to cover. And when you sign up for this, I'll get back to that. There is a $40 off coupon, $259 instead of $299. So I want everybody to write this code down, TS40 off. It's happening 13th, 14th, and 15th. It's 2 to 4:30. We take breaks and have fun and play music, but you're going to learn everything you need to know. If you can't be there all 3 days, you get the recordings. And this coupon code expires on well, why would it expire after the webinar? Okay, well, that makes sense. So if you write this down, you'll be able to sign up and come next week. Okay. The other thing that I wanted you, and we are going to cover during that webinar, this program admin and fundraising percentage thing that a lot of you are asking. The other thing that I want to tell you, and this is probably the biggest thing that's coming up, is starting very soon, probably in the next week or two, there's a new offering that TechSoup is going to have, and it's a $9.90 filing and annual compliance filing service. Okay. So if you are looking for somebody to do a $9.90, because most of the time they're either a bigger accounting firm that's charging too much, or somebody that doesn't really do 990s and they're charging you a few $100s and it's wrong, or the worst is if you're trying to do it yourself. So TechSoup is going to start offering a 990 filing and annual compliance service, which means we will file the 990 for you. We'll file your state registration and your charitable solicitation, all three of those things. Okay. So it's a new filing service. The 990N and state filing is going to cost $295 at the TechSoup website. The 990EZ and state filing is going to cost $990. Cute. The 990 and state filing is going to cost $1290. So we're doing the returns. We're filing them, not only the federal, but the state as well. And if you're a religious organization, you don't have to do the 990, but you still have to do the state compliance filing, and that's going to be $295. If you are interested, there's a poll question after the webinar. Say you're interested. As soon as it becomes available, we'll send you the link. Okay? What do y'all think about this 990 thing? Because in my view, there's not very many people that are actually doing 990s anymore. Does the filing include the cost of a review or an audit? It does not. Um, and we're the ones that are doing it. Okay. So you'll be having me. What do you do if you've applied for a 501c3 and haven't received it yet from the IRS? You still have to file your 990. Okay. Yes, Timothy, we'll file both of those. Anybody else? Yeah, Audrey says that it would save us more than half. Cool. So I think that's it. I'm going to leave you with these are some links. They'll be in there, but I'm going to leave you with this. This is basically the 3-day webinar series that's happening next week. Yes, that 3-day webinar series will be recorded. And let's see. If you're interested in the 990 filing, please answer yes. And I think, is there anybody else has a burning question they want me to answer before we go? I signed up for the webinar next week for $299. Can I get the discount now? Email bill@greggbossen.com. Yes, you'll get the slides. Yes, you'll get the. We're having a restricted grant webinar training that's happening on the May 29th at the end of the month. Okay. So look on our website for it. All right. Let's see. Does the 990 filing include the CA 199 too? I think it does. Paige?
It
page?
does.
Okay, it does include the CA9. And then you don't have to worry about any of this anymore. We'll do all of it for you. Okay, it'll be up on the site soon. Penny says Schedule A, Section B line 15 wants public support percentage from the 2023. We did not file a 990 in 23. Fill it in with zero, Penny. Fill it in with zero. How much is 1 hour volunteers? If somebody volunteered for 1 hour, they're a volunteer. It's asking the number of volunteers. So it doesn't matter whether they just volunteered an hour or not. What is your website? The website's quickbooksmadeeasy.com. And where is the website? I'll just go to quickbooksmadeeasy.com. Right here. Okay. Let's see. Can we have your contact information again? quickbooksmadeeasy.com. Okay. If someone is a speaker at a conference and is not paid, are they a volunteer? Yes, they are. Can we count board members as volunteer? Yes, you can. When you say 990 and state filing, what do you mean by state filing? Gwen, you have to file, you have to register with the state every year that you're doing business in that state, and you have to file with the charitable solicitations department of that state. Can you join the webinar if you've already have QuickBooksMadeEasy.com? The webinar is separate. Marianne, the 990 service. Crucial parts. Not all. I don't understand what that is. Bookkeeping and chart of accounts and crucial parts. Question is what info is. Okay. I'm just more of like a comment. Quad members can join the QuickBooks free. I'm not sure what that means. Does the filing service include the Massachusetts annual report? I believe it does. Does it? Paige?
It does.
Okay, cool. All right. We still got 218 people on here, but we are 9 minutes over, and I think it's time to go. So I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully, we will see you next week.